BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. BlackBoxNid88 on Instagram for the bonus podcast. And just a quick reminder, every Monday is Zodiac Mondays. Wednesday is an Ask Me Anything. That's an AMA, so please drop your questions below for things that you would like discussed here on the show. And Friday is an Anything Goes. Any subject is fair game, mostly talking about true crime, serial killers, the Zodiac Killer, but any subject is welcome. All right, so please share some ideas in the comment section about what you would like to hear about on this channel, and let's get started. Okay, hello everybody. It is Wednesday, time for the AMA. That's the Ask Me Anything. Welcome to the show. This is the day where I read off your questions and comments, and we have a discussion about them. We have lots to go through about the Zodiac Killer, the murder of Missy Bevers, and, of course, the borrowed questions. Our first comment comes to us from Classic Chevy Cat Black, who says, one of your listeners said something like, "It's not insulting to have a healthy skepticism. I'm suspicious of this story. In my mind, I'm always debating whether something is admissible in court. In other words, do you have a case? With that said, it sucks telling your truth and no one believes you. I appreciate that you do present these other stories that people bring you. At least they know they have a voice, because no one ever knows. Your show is my favorite, as well as Drew's. Thank you." And thank you to Classic Chevy Cat Black. That is much appreciated. In the past, though, I've always wanted this channel to be a forum for true crime ideas, where people can discuss their theories in the comments section, and then hopefully it would be picked up and then mentioned on the channel and turned into a future episode. However, I'm going to try my best to keep up with that, but I've reached a certain point when I might simply have to say no to certain ideas or theories if I think that someone may not be coming at it from the highest level of credibility, or if I think that someone is being deceptive, or maybe, and this is the biggest reason, if someone might be dealing with some type of mental illness, I don't want to put forward an episode that could reinforce a lot of the reasons that their mental illness is causing them trouble. So I think that it's really just reached that certain point where if someone has approached me with their crime theory, I might simply have to say, I'm sorry, I won't be doing an episode on that for the reasons I've just listed. It doesn't mean that I'm not open to new theories, absolutely. And I've always said, though, if someone has published a book, or even if they've written an article about this, or they've made a series of YouTube videos, oh, that, absolutely. Because that's looking at published content. That's looking at something that was already created and trying to weigh the merits of the ideas. I want to be very clear that this is just when people write into the email, and anybody can write the show at BlackBoxOnlineRadio@AOL.com, and you can also write the show at BlackBoxNid88 on Instagram and send something into the DMs if you have some things that you would like to share, not in the comments section, but not so public. You can write me privately at those places, and the email address is posted in the description box here. But I think that it has just come to that level when, someone will be sharing their story with me, and I'm like, wait a second, I don't know if I should even put this out because this person may not be in the best state of mental health or something like that, or definitely not if I think that the person is trying to deceive me and they're putting forward a true crime theory that they do not genuinely believe. Okay, so that is halfway an announcement and halfway a response, but thank you for the comment all the same. Now, our next one was one that came in to one of the DMs, and anybody can send these in as well. It comes to us from Jack Cooper, who runs the Zodiac Killer channel, and he asked me the question, what is your favorite Zodiac Killer book? And I was like, wow, that's a big question. The first thing I have to share is, I am the most boring person in the world. I do not have favorites. I don't have a favorite food. I don't have a favorite color. I don't have a favorite song or anything like that. So, of course, I don't actually have a favorite Zodiac Killer book, but I actually wanted to take some time, think about it, and respond. And this might come as a surprise to some people, and it might seem completely obvious to other people, but I have to say, The Great Zodiac Killer Hoax of 1986 by Thomas Henry Horan, and it's purely for selfish reasons. because with this one, it was the first one that I did a book discussion on here on this channel, and it's still up if anyone would like to listen to it. There's a multi-part playlist for the Great Zodiac Killer Hoax of 1986, and I think that's the reason why. Just a little bit more personal, and a lot of people could recognize that I had a particular sense of enthusiasm because I really wanted to learn more about the Zodiac hoax theory, the myth of the Zodiac Killer. But it really is because of that. It was the first Zodiac Killer book discussion that I did, and you can hear or you can rather sense the raw energy that I had about that because it was something very new, and it was taking the channel in a different direction because I had never done something like multi-part over the course of 15 different episodes. So that would be my answer. But there are numerous Zodiac Killer book discussions here on this channel. There's one on Earl Van Best and the Most Dangerous Animal of All by Gary Stewart and Susan Mustafa, Time 17 by Gareth Penn, Zodiac Unmasked by Robert Graysmith, and The Myth of the Zodiac Killer, which is the extended version of the Great Zodiac Killer hoax of 1986. What Thomas Horan did was he put his smaller books together into one bigger book, and you can hear the book discussion here, The Myth of the Zodiac Killer by Thomas Henry Horan, available on this channel. But that's a really good question. Okay, now there's another point of clarity to reach. If you did not get to hear the bonus episode on Tuesday, there was one that came out called New Zodiac Z340 Solution. Was Orange Shack right? And I received an email from someone named Dirt Poor Richard. That's the name of his YouTube channel. Call him Richard. I should just say that his name is Richard. His YouTube channel is Dirt Poor Richard. And he released a 4-part video series talking about a new possible solution to the Zodiac Z340. And the first thing that I would like to do is actually to read off David's solution that we were talking about in the episode. And that is right over here. I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber, because it will send me to paradise all the sooner. Because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise, so they are afraid of death. I am not afraid, because I know that my new life will be an easy one. In paradise, death. Okay, that was David Oranchak's more famous solution to the 340 than the one posted by Richard. But what he came up with using his own metric was, I feel bad. I'm Evil D. I felt like I needed killing. It's code I like. I roll tab. Add a letter. I write. Life elitism. I like being famous. Like training my slave. I did like 2 better. First to kill was Diane. I started telling myself I would kill all. Berryessa and Blue Rock to killing a kid. I have my days kill. I made my slaves count. Killed a kid, Florida. Kill and tell all. I killed the girl on Wild Elm. Felt I shouldn't. I killed Mono Lake, RN. Okay, so that's the solution that was proposed by Dirt Poor Richard. And I wanted to be very clear about this. I believe that David Oranchak's solution is correct. What I said was in that Tuesday bonus episode was I thought that Richard's solution was better. And what that means is I believe that David is right. I believe that this is the most authentic solution. When I said that I thought that Richard's solution was better, I definitely find it more interesting. I definitely think that that is the one that I would prefer. I wish that were the case, but if I had to choose between the two of them, which one is more authentic? David Oranchak's solution, as well as David and his team, Jarl Van Eyck, Sam Blake. I think that one is more accurate. Which one do I think is more valuable? Absolutely. Richard's solution that's talking about Berryessa to Blue Rock and listing possible victims. The first victim was Diane. I killed the girl on Wild Elm, killed a kid, Florida, because that gives points in which we could investigate. And even though I don't think that that's as authentic as David's, I think it's it gives more food for thought, if you can follow my reasoning. I wish that were the correct one, because then we could investigate some new pathways, but it appears that it's not. Our first comment that comes to us on that bonus episode is from Tom Voigt, who said, "The FBI officially signed off. Another solution will never be validated by them." And I think that this is one of the times when I will not dispute that with Tom Voigt. It's most likely that that's what's going to happen. The FBI feels satisfied that David's solution to the 340 cipher is authentic. Our next one comes to us from Anna Morris, who says, "I have watched Dirt Poor Richard's videos, and I believe his results may also be accurate. In an earlier comment here, I detailed my own work on the 340 via David Orenchak's web toy, and I believe there is more than one message in the 340, and that one message is the surface message and how to solve the thing. You see, that is something that's entirely possible. It would be absolutely crazy if someone could actually put that in there and have like 2 or 3 meanings that were all equally valuable, and this was all designed from the beginning. But if you go to that episode, there is a link pinned in to Dirt Poor Richard's series. It's a 4-part discussion series that talks about the 340 cipher, his solution, and how he obtained it, because somebody else also said here in the comments section that Richard did not provide instructions on how he solved the cipher, or not providing details on how he obtained that solution. And he does in his 4-part series. I didn't reveal that in my video because I wanted, people to visit his channel and to check that out and to watch him in his own words, and also so they can see his videos as opposed to just hearing me talk about it. But, I definitely think that David's would be more accepted, and I just don't know if we're at that level in which we have enough evidence to say that there could be 2 solutions for the 340 cipher. I give him an A+ for effort, though, for Richard's work. But moving on to something else about that, I have to reinforce one point where I was wrong. I thought that the ciphers would have been created well before the murder started, that someone had been thinking about this Zodiac Killer concept for a long time, and they had the ciphers completely designed, and they knew what message they were going to put in, and that they were going to be all done at calculated intervals. But that's not the case if David Orenchak's solution to the 340 is correct, because it says, "That wasn't me on the TV." Maybe he could have substituted one line, but I'm already jumping to conclusions. It says, "That wasn't me on the TV." This is something that the author would have created after that person had been on the Jim Dunbar show, which was well after the first Zodiac murders at Lake Herman Road, and well after the letters started to be mailed after Blue Rock Springs, and the Z340 had to have been designed and composed after the 408 had already been solved. I still stand by one claim, though, that I have said multiple times on the channel, that it's most likely that the Zodiac was thinking that the 340 would be solved much more quickly, not 52 years or anything like that, but perhaps maybe 1 year, or maybe like 8 or 9 months, when the memory of being on the television, then that voice who identified himself as Sam called in talking to Jim Dunbar and Melvin Belli was still fresh in people's memories. But I'm just going to say it one more time. I do think that David's team is the most accurate one there. But I still invite anyone to watch Dirt Poor Richard's 4-part series on the 340 cipher, as well as how it ties into the other ciphers. Moving on to the next it's actually a question and the title of an episode. How many people did the Zodiac Killer murder? If you ask me, I'll say 5, but it is from Jim Peterson, who says, "Sorry, Ned, I put the Sherry Joe Bates murder at a 3 out of 10. Tom Voigt would have every unsolved murder in Southern California in the 1960s and 70s as the work of the Zodiac if he could get away with it. Sometimes the most obvious answer is why, oh why, did the Zodiac not write Sherry Joe Bates on Hartnell's car door?" I can actually answer that. I gave Sherry Joe Bates an 8 out of 10 in terms of 10 being absolute Zodiac activity, much higher than Jim's 3 out of 10 in terms of likelihood that the 1966 murder of Sherry Joe Bates was also committed by the Zodiac Killer. And I've asked that question on the channel before as well. Why isn't her date of death on the card door at Lake Berryessa? Well, very simply, the Zodiac killer could have only wanted to attribute the murders of 68 and 69 within a 12-year, excuse me, I ruined that one, a 12-month cycle to the Zodiac persona, that this was a prolific serial killer. However, he only wanted that 12-month time span from December of 1968 to December of 1969 to be featured on the corridor at Lake Berryessa. And yes, I'm fully aware that Lake Berryessa took place September 27th of 1969, but the 12-month time frame from 12/20/68 to 12/20/69, because after the murder of Paul Stine on October 11th, the letters are mailed in containing bloody pieces of Paul Stine's shirt. Then there's the 340 cipher that comes in November that we were talking about, and the Melvin Belli letter was just about at the end of at the end of that time frame. So there could be that this is just someone who is only identifying a certain set of murders as the Zodiac persona who committed them. The other side of the coin is, to answer this question, how many people did the Zodiac murder? I think that Sherry Jo Bates is a victim that I thought a little bit more strongly about. However, I was rating all of the unconfirmed Zodiac incidents on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolute Zodiac activity. I said that was an 8 out of 10, meaning that I'm still not convinced that it was a genuine Zodiac crime. As far as being a 3 out of 10, this comment keeps going, though. All Zodiac murders at night were committed by gun. That's a good observation. Lake Berryessa was in the late afternoon, and it was committed by knife. Lake Berryessa was in the fall. It was on September 27th of 69, but, September 27th, it was at 6:30 p.m. when the stabbing concluded. There was definitely bright daylight September at 6:30 p.m. Concerning the murders of the couple in 1963, just because the couple showed no signs of rape, the female victim does not mean the intentions of rape were not contemplated. This is one I absolutely agree with. He's talking about the Dominguez Edwards murders in 1963, and a highly probable motive for that is that someone was tying up Robert Dominguez, or he had Linda Edwards tie up Robert Dominguez, and he wanted to rape Linda Edwards, and it could have been someone who was mentally unstable. And I don't even want to speculate in this direction, but I will anyway because it's the internet and I run my mouth a lot. But the brand of ammo there was traced back to a military base using the lot number. So I would just put forward the alternative to that being genuine Zodiac activity, that the Domingos Edwards murders was a case of someone who was dealing with some mental instability issues got off the military base for a little while, and he found Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards in a vulnerable place. He wanted to tie up Robert Domingos and then rape Linda Edwards, but Robert Domingos broke free from the restraints, and then he punched the assailant in the face. They tried to run away because it's highly probable that the perpetrator was larger than Robert Domingos, and I say that because he dragged Domingos' body around 30 feet or 30 yards, I forget, but he dragged his body to the seaside shack and then tried to set it on fire. So they wanted to run away from the guy because he has a gun, he has a knife, and also he was probably very physically intimidating. I definitely don't think it's a little 150, 160 pounds Sandy or something. And so that person fired 26 shots at Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards and murdered them. That would be an alternative, meaning that had nothing to do with the Zodiac Killer mystery. That was simply someone who was trying to, that was someone who was a rapist, and the Zodiac Killer was not a rapist. But Chevy Cat Black has another one here that says, I had to go read the Zodiac confession letter. Well, I guess I got ahead of myself. I had to go and read the confession letter about Sherry Jo Bates, and the letter feels very different compared to the Zodiac. As I said, I got ahead of myself. She didn't write the word Zodiac in there. My brain just inserted it. When he spoke about touching her breasts, and that's what really bothers me, he mentions cutting off, I'm not even going to type it out, and depositing it for the city to see. That sounds like an immature young man with an intense hatred of women. Perhaps he lied about touching touching Sherry Joe's breast. If he was telling the truth, that seems different from the Zodiac. And her breast felt warm. Miss Bates went to the slaughter like a lamb. All of those types of personal revenge, angry details are not present in the Zodiac killer letters. Like the Zodiac was definitely not saying, I touched Betty Lou Jensen in this way. I led Darlene Ferrin to this place. I stabbed Cecilia Shepard in this way. The Zodiac is actually very distant from the victims. They're referred to as the boy and the girl, those two kids, definitely not by name. So I think that was something there. But on to the next comment on that episode is from Jacob Wilbers, who has something to say about the 1967 murder of Nikki Benedict. And Jacob writes, yeah, I really doubt that Nikki Benedict was killed by the Zodiac. It makes no sense. It's not Zodiac. No evidence exists at all. Random numbers are not evidence. Name me one other murder that has anything to do with these senseless number puzzles. Okay, what's he talking about? Nikki Benedict was murdered on May 1st, 1967. The Zodiac killer connection is that Gareth Penn is the suspect for murdering Sherry Joe Bates on... Sherry Joe Bates was murdered on October 30th of 1966. Nikki Benedict was murdered May 1st of 1967. 184 days is from the murder of Sherry Joe Bates to the murder of Nikki Benedict. And the alphanumeric value of Gareth Sewell Penn's name is 184. Is this a mathematical signature? Well, you heard Jacob Wilbers' response to that. Before we even look at Gareth Penn as a suspect, because I did a lot of that in the episode, How Many People Did the Zodiac Killer Murder? I want to point out that there are other suspects in the murder of Nikki Benedict. One of them is somebody named Robert Fisk, who worked in the local meat market very close by. His son is actually the person who found Nikki Benedict's body. She was stabbed to death at around 6:30 p.m. on the 1st of May, 1967, while she was walking along a path after visiting a friend, and she was walking home. Nikki Benedict was 14 years old. Somebody else did write in on the original episode that I did on the murder of Nikki Benedict about how they thought that this wasn't Gareth Penn, this wasn't Robert Fisk, this wasn't any Zodiac killer suspect. Instead, this looks like a crime that was very opportunistic, where it would have been somebody who had been recently out of jail or out of a mental institution, and they might even have a suspect in that case, but someone who was just somewhat mentally unstable, and then they just went after a girl who was in a very vulnerable place walking along a dirt path in Poway, California, and she didn't have anybody around, so they attacked a vulnerable young girl. That is highly possible, but that would be what I would call a skeptical alternative to any Zodiac killer theory. And our next comment comes to us from Playtime that was sent into the email. One more time, anybody can write the show at BlackBoxOnlineRadio at AOL.com. And some people are finding that their comments have been auto-deleted by YouTube, especially when they're talking about very intense subjects like murder. And during the JonBenet Ramsey case, people would leave a comment and then 5 minutes later it would be automatically deleted because that involves some other issues that I won't even say because I don't want to cause any trouble with the YouTube censors. But anybody can write the show, BlackBoxOnlineRadio at AOL.com. The email address is in the description box. Playtime sent this one in. With the Zodiac killings that occurred around midnight, the dates changing from yesterday to today in a minute, it seems to be an overlooked thing. It is something often explored by yellow journalists, and it is a notion easily confused by everybody. This whole timeline of Zodiac things and all its aspects would be an excellent topic for a discussion. I think so. Before we even get into some of the specifics, Thomas Henry Horn posted something on his channel about what really happened at Blue Rock Springs Park, and he posted a segment of Robert Graysmith's original 1986 book Zodiac, when Graysmith even identified that the shooting at Blue Rock Springs took place at 12:10 a.m. on the 5th of July, 1969. The murder of Darlene Ferrin almost certainly occurred earlier than that. 12:10 a.m. was the time when the people called it in. They made the 911 call that they have found Darlene Ferrin and Mike Michaud, and they're bloodied in the car. And I've been following the show Zodiac Speaking, hosted by Richard Grinnell and Mike Morford, and they had a great episode on the Blue Rock Springs shooting. I would just recommend everybody check out their podcast, Zodiac Speaking. But to continue onward with that, it's highly likely that the shooting of Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mangeot took place sometime around 11:53, 54, maybe 11:55 p.m. on July 4th. And, I mean, Richard Hoffman is at the park doing his patrol and there's nobody there, and then Darlene Ferrin's car pulls in, and then maybe 5 minutes later, there's this car that's kind of going in and out that could be the Zodiac, or maybe it's just a different car that's going into the park. I mean, the park doesn't seem to be too far from the road, but that would mean that the shooting occurs, and then the bodies are not found until after midnight. The stabbing of Sherry Jo Bates in 1966, even though I don't think that is 100% confirmed to be Zodiac activity, she is stabbed on October 30th. Her body is found on October 31st. And it is something that could be relevant about the changing of time, only because of the the Zodiac watches, as well as the Zodiac symbol itself, the cycle of animals. I'll go back to Playtime's comment here. Midnight is a vague notion. Is it the 8th of April at 11:59 p.m. or the 9th at 12:01 a.m. that the Oceanside pre-Zodiac killer called in, "I'm gonna pull something in Oceanside, and you'll never be able to figure it out"? Or was it the 9th at 11:59 p.m., or the 10th at 12:01 a.m., just 2 minutes later? What he pulled was the cabbie's body out of the cab and into the back drive of the mayor's house, probably so he would get the attention of the public. Then exactly 90 months later, he murders another lone cab driver. Paul Stine was shot by his fare in a rich neighborhood at night as well. Was all of this time so the papers would print something on someone's birthday? Anton LaVey was born Howard Stanton LaVey on April 11th, 1930. Exactly 91 years ago today. This was mailed on April 11th, mind you. Another point to this thing we will never be able to figure out is the 5th and Mission address in Oceanside, which is where Ray Davis picked up the fare, and also maybe pointing for the same address. F for the 5th is the Red Ryder brand, and N for Mission. This corresponds to the address of the Chronicle on October 27th, 1970, which is the date that the Halloween card was mailed. Okay, about the 90th month. I have something to share about that. If you have followed any of my episodes in the past about Gareth Penn, I frequently put up these cards on the screen that I was just using with my own calculator about how if you add up the dates in Lake Herman Road, you get 12, 20, 68. That totals 100. And then if you go to Blue Rock Springs and you add up 7, 4, 69, that totals 80. Now, what would be in the middle of that? You would need the number 90, right? 80, 90, 100. Well, Paul Stine was murdered on the 11th of October, 1969. 10, 11, 69. What does that total up to? 10, 11, and 69. 10 plus 11 plus 69 equals 90. So if you're going to say that they're 90 months after the murder of Ray Davis, well, Paul Stine's date of death is totaling up to 90 as well. And there are 3 incidents in the Zodiac Killer's canonical crimes that total up this way. You have Lake Herman Road totaling up to 100, the Paul Stine murder totaling up to 90, the Blue Rock Springs shooting totaling up to 80, and of course Lake Berryessa is just different for every reason under the sun. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening to everything about the Zodiac Killer here in this first section. I'll be right back with some questions and comments about the murder of Missy Beavers from 2016, but what's your response to what I just said about the dates and the numbers? And do you think there's any value in that? All right, well, that's all for me now. I will be right back after this quick message. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum bum. At this time, I would like to talk about some of the ways in which you can help Black Box Online Radio. This channel relies on your support, and the best way you can help out is just by listening to some more content. If you like what you hear, you can hit that like button, subscribe, and share with your friends on social media. But I should also say that Black Box Online Radio now has a Teespring page, and there will be some links in the description box. Please feel free to check out some of the merchandise that is available. Almost all sizes and colors are listed. So, you can also help out by going over to the Zodiac Killer channel and watching the documentary series Obsession into Darkness, parts 1, 2, and 3. I was one of the contributors for that, and you can see some other great Zodiac content on the Zodiac Killer channel. And yes, there will be a part 4 of Obsession into Darkness at some point in the future. And for now, let's get back to the show. Okay, hello everybody, and we are back. Moving on to the 2016 murder of Missy Bevers. I would like to get to your questions and comments about that case. Missy Bevers was the woman from Midlothian, Texas, who was murdered inside of a church, and prior to the murder, there is this video of somebody walking up and down the hallways of the church in SWAT team gear, for lack of a better term. A full-on police costume would be another way to describe it. I mean, you have someone wearing a police vest, a helmet, which, according to Tim Colville from GumshoeStories.com, who is somewhat of an expert on the Missy Bevers case, the helmet is the only piece of the gear that doesn't appear to be authentic, based on some things that he has uncovered from his own investigation. The rest of the gear is most likely, actually authentic police, outfitting. This is one that a lot of people were so confused by, and people have so many theories. They're trying to figure out not only who is in that police outfit, but what kind of person is this? Does this person have a prosthetic leg? Or that one comment that I read off during last Friday's Anything Goes segment, when someone thought, that looks like a woman in the costume, but a woman who has recently given birth and doesn't know how to adjust her body to the massive amount of weight loss she experienced. I would like to get to some comments right away, and this first one comes to us from Anna Lee, who says, "Thank you for stating the facts about the gun being the murder weapon. I appreciate Tim pointing this out and Black Box Online Radio listening. Some creators seem to spout endless opinions and theories without regard for the facts. I respect those correcting or adjusting the position on discovering new evidence. Well done for helping to highlight the Missy Bevers case." And of course, I noticed that a lot of people were discussing Missy Bevers in 2016. I was talking a lot about Missy Bevers in 2017, but on this channel, I took a very long hiatus, but I got back on Tim Colville's website, Gumshoe Stories, and he had a post about how he didn't want people to forget about Missy Beavers, and with many true crime cases, maybe they are very popular in the media, and unless there is some type of major breakthrough with DNA or major breakthrough with the forensic examinations that gives a result and they can arrest somebody or there's a conviction, then people won't always be thinking of the victim or talking about the case. So it's good to remember not only that this is a mystery that people are trying to solve, but there was a human that lost her life, and in this case it was Missy Bevers. As for Missy Bevers being murdered by a gun, originally the media was going with the story that she was murdered with a hammer or a crowbar, or something that would have caused puncture wounds. And I asked Tim Colville via his website, GumshoeStories.com, anybody can write him there. I asked him, what is your biggest piece of information that you would like to reveal to the public, or a point that you would like to reinforce? And he said that Missy Bevers was killed by a gunshot. I first heard about this on the Lorden Arts channel during one of John Lorden's many videos about Missy Bevers, and he brought just pulled up the document that had been posted, the report rather, that stated that she died from a gunshot wound, cause of death gunshot, and I just wanted to repeat that one again because that was the biggest point that Tim Colville wanted to share. Okay, and the next one is from Talk to Suffer, who says, "I think that it was personal, with a high standing in the community whom had a grudge and a higher up in the church. Okay, it says personal, but I think that must be a typo. I think it was a person with a high standing in the community whom had a grudge with a higher up in the church. They stumbled upon Missy and felt that they had to kill her because being caught vandalizing the church would ruin their reputation and community at large. The killer had no knowledge of Missy's fitness class. Everyone thinking they were after Missy is what thrown the case in multiple directions that lead away from the killer. I like that type of thinking, and I've noticed that more and more frequently. Like back in 2017, I was following this case very closely. I was going through every piece of information I could find about it. I was even begging this one person, can you please just listen to these podcasts with me? And can you please just read these articles? I want to know what you have to say about it. I just wanted to talk to somebody about the Missy Beavers case. And at that time, everybody was pointing toward Missy Beavers' father-in-law. They thought that the father-in-law was the murderer, but he had an alibi. He was in Oceanside, California at the time. In 2021, at the time of this recording, I've noticed a lot more people are putting forward this theory that Talk to Suffer just laid out, that Missy Beavers may not have even been the prime target, that this person was trying to do something to the church. That's the stuff that I'm seeing in the comments sections everywhere. People are saying that, okay, this person wanted to vandalize the church, but they were armed. This person wanted to maybe steal something. Maybe there was a particular item they were after, or they just thought that there would be a place with a large amount of money. Botched burglary, botched breaking and entering, botched vandalism attempt. I mean, at this point, I don't think that we know 100%, but that is that is definitely a theory that is more popular in 2021 than it was in the past. The other major theories that people seem to have about the murder of Missy Beavers revolve around Missy Beavers' private life. They think that somebody may have killed her out of jealousy. Somebody may have killed her because they thought that she was having an affair with someone in their family, and they had an axe to grind with her. And there was even that one theory that I brought off during the 2020 update that someone said that they thought that maybe this was a financial dispute, that somebody knew about Missy Beavers' fitness class. She was a personal trainer who was supposed to be hosting a morning gladiator boot camp at the church, and all the stuff was posted on Facebook. It was posted publicly. Anyone could have found that, and somebody wanted Missy Beavers murdered because they believed that she had cheated them on something to do with the business, or that she had been cheated out of money or something. I shouldn't even say she. I mean, like, it could have been a he. He had been cheated by her. She had been cheated by her, and somebody wanted to get revenge on her for that. But that's just speculation at this point. Back in 2017, I did 4 episodes called Missy Beavers' Hitman Theory, when I put forward my own original theory at the time, which I have since abandoned, that Missy Bevers was murdered by somebody who was not close to her. She was murdered by someone who was paid to do that. Like, somebody had set her up. Like, Missy Beavers had been murdered by a hitman, someone who had been given money to commit the murder, not a close friend, not a relative, and instead they gave money to someone who had most likely done it before. But as I said, I've abandoned that theory. Flapstick has replied, talking about the hitman theory on the most recent episode that came out. And if anyone would like to hear that, it's called The Murder of Missy Beavers 5 Years Later. It was last week's Anything Goes segment, The Murder of Missy Beavers 5 Years Later. There are 2 comments here from Flapstick that say, and they aren't heavily disguised just because they know people in the church and could recognize them. They don't want anyone to recognize them. That's one of those things that all of you true crime blabbers do, force puzzle pieces to fit. And the second comment is, so a methodical killing can only be done by a hitman. Ridiculous. It wasn't convenient for her husband and father-in-law to be out of town. It was convenient for the killer to have them out of town, and also knowing that Missy would be in a church at a specific time, alone. I would have to bet that finding a hitman in Midlothian, Texas would be next to impossible, and someone being mad enough because their husband or wife cheating with Missy to go as far as finding, hiring, and paying a hitman to murder her is a humongous leap in rational thinking. Believe it or not, I'm not going to dispute that with you. I think that if you want to put those comments in on the episodes that I did in 2017, I think that would fit in perfectly. Do I still subscribe to the Hitman theory now? No, of course not, because I've realized in the last 4 years, I certainly don't know what happened to Missy Beavers. I mean, it's an unsolved case for a reason, and on this channel I've definitely gravitated away from just simply being a true crime blabber like I was in the past. I think that was the exact phrasing that Flapstick used in the comment. I've definitely tried to get away from just saying, all right, now I figured it out, this is what must have happened. No, no, no. I think that, instead, perhaps it's more valuable to weigh the merit of certain ideas. I would like to go to the first part of Flapstick's comment, though. They aren't heavily disguised just because they know people in the church that could recognize them. They don't want anyone to recognize them, period. I think that those things go hand in hand. If somebody did go to the church frequently, they would be recognized much more easily, or if somebody was a local to anywhere in the vicinity of the church, like maybe someone who had some familiarity to the sporting goods store, if, right? I mean, that's just an example. I don't want anyone to misinterpret that comment, but yeah, they would be recognized more easily. And then next, of course, they don't want to be recognized by anyone. I certainly believe that's why the person is wearing that costume. It serves two purposes. It hides their face, and it hides all of their forensic details. They're not going to be leaving any fingerprints and such. And it's a disguise, right? No one can tell who it is. And the second reason is, and this is something that has been widely discussed all up and down the internet, that the costume serves a function that if somebody like Missy Bevers walked into the church and they saw some burglar wearing a ski mask or some thug with a bandana tied around his face, she would be very, very startled. But if somebody is wearing a police outfit, they could just very calmly say, hey, take it easy. Hey, it's all right. I'm law enforcement. I'm just doing here this routine thing. It would be much easier to alleviate the tension and keep somebody from panicking. But yeah, in the past, I definitely would try and force puzzle pieces to fit. The only justification for that is in an unsolved case, you can give a theory about what you think happened. I will tell you firsthand, though, there's a very high chance that just simply blabbing about theories that have come to mind will often expose weakness and you will be proven wrong. I will tell you firsthand, I've done that many times. But I want it to be 100% out in the open. There are many reasons why this crime was very methodical. So a methodical killing can only be done by a hitman? I don't say that anymore. No, no, not at all. Think about that theory that we just said. It's in the middle of this segment already, when people have been talking so much more frequently about how this is someone who was trying to vandalize the church, and or trying to commit a burglary. That has nothing to do with being a hitman. That would have to do with someone who interrupted a different set of criminal behaviors. Absolutely, I don't think that that is the only reason about why someone was being very methodical. But I would challenge you on this point here. I would have to bet that finding a hitman in Midlothian, Texas would be next to impossible. No, crazier things have happened. And because I did those 4 episodes, Missy Beavers Hitman Theory, as well as a couple Q&A sessions discussing the comments that have been put out on it, how would that have happened? Well, very, very simply, somebody has a secluded meeting and they agree to give somebody money, and there are all kinds of ways of making communications, burner phones, paper notes, but I really think that if there was any type of hitman theory, or the way that I thought about it in the past, it would have been arranged through secluded meetings. I think that that is the most effective way without leaving any trace of anything. You drive down some lonely dirt country road, pull off to the side, and you have a quick chat with somebody when no one's around, or you even just go for a drive in somebody else's car, and then take a long walk in the middle of nowhere, and you just make a very quick agreement to have something like that taken place. But I don't really know that 100%. But as for the methodical killing, there could be any reasons about why there are all these methodical things. But, Flapstick, I do appreciate the comments all the same, because it's good that you want to challenge me, and that is very, very welcome here in the comments section. Tyler Grover has a comment about Missy Beavers when he says, "Sure looks like and moves a lot like a certain in-law." Yep, the person in that video does move and act like a certain in-law. I can't think of anyone who would have actually fit the bill of all the criteria who could have murdered Missy Beavers. Now, Wacky Wayfarer, who says, either a short, older, 50-plus female or the male suspect, a close relative I can't recall, that was noted to have the same walk. I think you're talking about Randy Beavers, the person whom we said was in Oceanside, but an older 50-plus female? Whew. Um, that is something that I haven't thought about too much. Um, that is, I'm not sure what else to say to that. Maybe you're completely right, but I think that might be a bit of a stretch, a 50-plus female. But I mean, if crazier things have happened, such as finding a hitman in Midlothian, Texas, maybe crazy the crazier thing did happen, and a 50-plus female committed the murder. I reckon it could be a teenager with a slim build. See, already we're from 50 years old and female to a teenager. This is from J.A. Baldwin, who says, I reckon it could be a teenager with a slim build, but wearing oversized clothing, maybe from a family member who works in law enforcement, and obviously and definitively a man with an obsession with her, perhaps a recluse who doesn't have much social skills or friends. And Stephanie Harlow even put forward her theory that maybe it was someone who is not a sexual thrill kill serial killer, but a depressed serial killer who only operates when he is in these weak states of mind and in the rut in his life, and then he takes out his frustrations by killing. But as a teenager, someone who felt rejected, but someone who doesn't have a lot of skills, but then they have this obsession with her. Missy Beavers was 45 years old, and a teenager can be attracted to a 45-year-old woman. However, you would think out of all the other people that this teenager would be targeting in such a calculated and methodical way, I don't know, maybe, but I would have my doubts about that. Jacob Wilbur says, I remember when this happened. Whoever this guy is, it's obvious that this guy is angry at her, or the church she is at. So, see, the church is coming up a lot. The only way this thing is getting solved is if this guy does another crime and gets caught, or a wife or family member turns her in. Absolutely, a family member could turn this person in, especially if they recognize some of the material that the person's wearing, particularly the vest. Anna Morris writes, I had all sorts of ideas like these, and maybe still do. However, I recently watched a video by a former cop who gave some ideas. I would like to credit the one who did the video, but I can't remember them at the moment. Anyway, the video minutely details the movements of the car at the sporting goods store. That's the silver Nissan Altima that's 0.8 miles away. There are too many cars present and passing on the road, so theoretically the burglar leaves the church and is on his way. The video notes that the actions in the church support burglary rather than waiting for a murder victim. As you see, this is a very popular theory. Said it once and said it twice and thrice. The perpetrator is there to do a property crime and does not care how much damage he does. Okay, I have to stop right there because on Tim Coville's 9 Myths about the Missy Beavers case, he said very clearly the only damage that was done was very minimal or something to do with trying to destroy a lock that was preventing that person from walking between two areas, like trying to smash open an area that had been locked. That's on the 9 Myths of the Missy Beavers case. The person isn't really destroying an enormous amount of things. That doesn't mean that it's not a burglary. I mean, what is a burglar going to look for? Something valuable. And okay, why was somebody trying to break into anything? If they're there to murder Missy Beavers, then maybe they could have just waited for Missy Beavers. They don't have to walk up and down the church hallways at all. I mean, they don't have to smash anything. Very clearly, the perpetrator is seen on the video striking multiple things with that hammer, crowbar, that metallic item. Okay, so the first thing that people thought of was maybe this person wants to find the security tapes, like find where the security cameras are commanded or maybe this person wants to find some type of safe or maybe cash box. Those are the things that people thought in the beginning. Or even if this is a murder, then this person wants to disable some type of alarm system, or they're looking for those things if they've entered a building like this before. Those are just possibilities. What did that comment say? True crime blabbing. Hey, Flapstick, because your comment was a little bit rough edged, I'm gonna steal that from you, and from now on we're gonna use that on the channel. We'll just say that's just true crime blabbing. Maybe I'll say I'm blabbing my Flapstick. Much appreciated, by the way. Okay, now that going back to this comment that is here from Anna Morris, something that got my attention was a blueprint of the church and the knowledge that Missy was killed in a back room where mats are stored for a fitness class. It made sense that the burglar may have retreated to the back room when she entered the church and that she may have been surprised and cornered him back there. Okay, I mean, wow, now that's insightful. No matter what, Missy Beavers, would not have been the target in that theory. That theory sounds more like some person heard Missy coming in, so they went to the back room. Missy went in to get the match for the exercise class, and then, holy crap, there's this police figure, and that led to the shooting. Great comment, Anna Morris. Very, very much appreciated. Kelly Gable has one. To me, the person in the video has the same build as the bridge guy in the Delphi cell phone video. I believe they are the same person. I said perhaps we'll do something about the Delphi murders in the near future, and there's that bridge guy, someone who has been recorded on a cell phone video prior to a murder, and people are also debating that one up and down the internet. They're saying that guy's in his mid-50s, and other people are saying, no, that's a teenager. But the thing with the bridge guy is he's not wearing this enormous police costume that is masking everything except the eyes. Okay, Todd K. has a comment about the Hitman theory. Regarding the Hitman theory, what if the walk was planned and even practiced to resemble the father-in-law who was conveniently far away, just like the husband? That could be a form of taunt or attempt to frame. You gotta think these things beyond the first impression to copy that noticeable walk. Okay, so, my response to this one, and there is a response that has been written in by Gumshoe Stories, but my response would be, some people think that the odd walk that the perpetrator has in the video with the toes pointed outward and almost kind of wobbling could be, number one, the person is wearing shoes that are too big for them, an additional element of disguise. Number two, the person may have a prosthetic leg, and somebody left a comment, I don't know if it was on my channel or another website. Maybe it was on one that we were reading off last time. What was it called? huntakiller.com, when they said, this looks like somebody who has a prosthetic leg. Has anybody ever noticed that before? I think it's the right leg. Yes, absolutely, people have noticed that before. In the very first video I ever saw in the Missy Beavers case, John Lorden pointed out, okay, there's this theory out there that the perpetrator might have a prosthetic leg, and if so, it's the right one. And he zoned in on that. But I did say that Tim Coville from Gumshoe Stories responded, who says, the FIL always lived far away. FIL meaning father-in-law, he didn't live anywhere near Midlothian, so his being in California really doesn't matter. Respectfully disagree on the walk. I think the father-in-law has much more of a thigh gap than the killer does. The only similarity is that both have their feet turned out. Thank you to Gumshoe Stories for writing into the channel, and anyone can visit his YouTube channel, Tim Coville, who hosts Gumshoe Stories. Loads of things about the murder of Missy Beavers. Now, the next comment comes to us from Colonel Reb, who says, a ski mask would have been much more tactical than that big, clunky helmet. Oh, yes, I can follow you there. I mean, not only is there a helmet, there's also a light that is attached to the helmet. I think that person was trying to appear to be authentic, but, well, what are you going to do? You're going to wear the whole police costume and just use the ski mask? I think people are going to use one or the other. But Steph at Studio Steph, oh, nice name, says, I'm voting female, meaning thinking there's a woman in the costume. And anybody can weigh in the comments section. Do you think that this is a woman who has an issue with her weight? Or do you think it's a man with a prosthetic leg? And the last one is, I think this is from a Mr. JSV 650, who says, I think we can get more information from the vehicle activity. Vandalizing or burglary is laughable. Churches have the best insurance and endless cash not on hand generally. I mean, I've definitely thought about that. I mean, what are people exactly expecting? Like, there's this giant vault in the church. Yeah, I know churches collect money, but from my limited experience with that, I've always thought that they are very swift to deposit it. Anything destroyed would have been upgraded, so I don't buy that. It looked like they may have went to the sporting goods store on accident. Why do they cut the lights on and off? Maybe she was thinking she could already be there. The blinker doesn't say much, obviously. You want to follow traffic laws even if you're doing something like that. I would lean toward a woman if the caliber was 22, 32, or 380. Although I know all you Zodiac followers may disagree. Well, I mean, what do you? I'm not sure what you mean if you think women use 22 caliber guns and you're talking about the Zodiac killer. The Zodiac killer, almost certainly a male, used a 22 at least once. Someone said Todd Colep, but the dude was really big. Plus, he was a rapist, so I don't think it was him. Okay, good points. And there's another guy on YouTube who writes about letters in jail. Have you seen this channel, Ned? It's called Stories from the Penitentiary. No, I have not. By the way, I'm the Don Chaney ear mask theory guy. Peace. Oh, that's something from the Zodiac Killer mystery saying that the reason why the Zodiac Killer wore a hood at Lake Berryessa is because Don Chaney was trying to hide those big ears of his. All right, well, what an odd note to end on, but that's the last comment on Missy Beavers 5 years later. The murder of Missy Beavers 5 years later is the full title. But of course, as I said, you can also visit Tim Coville's website and channel, Gumshoe Stories. Both of them have the same name, and there's a link posted on that episode, The Murder of Missy Beavers 5 years later, and anybody can listen to any of those episodes. I'll say it again, though. Tim has some very good extended episodes on his channel, and the invitation is out there. Be right back after this. Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum bum. At this time, I would like to remind everybody about YouTube Premium. If you use the YouTube Premium features, you can download Black Box Online Radio, take it on the go, out walking, in the car, anywhere and anyhow. YouTube Premium also gives you access to special YouTube original shows and YouTube music. And now, let's get back to the episode. And hello, welcome back. I used to begin these AMAs by talking about a borrowed question, something that wasn't asked in the comment section, but from a different website or a different source. But now I just save them for the end, and I've been following along with a weekly question that I get from Quora talking about narcissism. I read one of them once rather than listening to it. I read one once, and now they send me one weekly, but that's great for the AMA. Before I do that one, I'm reading the book The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. He also has a YouTube channel of the same name, Rollo Tomassi. And there's a question in this book, though, The Rational Male, that says, are alpha male traits genetic or learned? Like, does someone learn how to become a type of alpha male, or do they learn this through behaviors and patterns? It's kind of like the nature versus nurture debate and discussion. Firstly, though, when many people on YouTube are talking about alphas and betas like he's an alpha male, they use this in all kinds of different ways. Like some people, in fact, most people, I think, say alpha male is someone strong and beta male is someone who is weak, or the alpha is the leader and the beta is the follower. They're more or less using that. I'm not sure what's in anybody's mind or heart, but other than myself, but that's the feeling that I gather. Although some people now use what's called the psychosexual hierarchy that goes alpha, sigma, beta, delta, gamma, omega, and they all have different characteristics. Alpha males, of course, are not only the very dominant males, but people who would be natural-born leaders and charismatic, but a sigma male is someone who has some of those characteristics, except not a natural-born leader. Someone who does not want to be involved with too many social groups. And believe it or not, James Bond is actually viewed as the quintessential Sigma male, because when you watch those James Bond movies, he's always doing the mission by himself. And then, of course, he meets the Bond girl sometime throughout this, and they, well, only last one film. I remember the first time I saw a James Bond movie, and then I saw the second one. I was like, "Hey, why didn't they bring the girl back? I kind of like the girl from that other James Bond movie." Then I turned 13, and I was like, "Oh, I understand now." But well, let's digress from that. Are alpha male traits learned or are they genetic? I'm definitely on the nurture side of nature versus nurture, that your environment is so valuable and it affects you in so many ways, because when you learn about the stories of people like Oksana Malaya, the girl from the Ukraine who grew up in a dog kennel, for lack of a better term, and she could so clearly emulate the mannerisms and behaviors and the barking sounds of a dog, even howling, and you can see all that stuff on YouTube. I learned about her back in college, actually. But that's the point, though. There are numerous cases of that. When people are left alone with dogs, they behave like a dog. When they're left alone with birds, they behave like birds, and they don't use language, but they make bird calls. And like you can find stories all up and down the world of this. I don't really like these types of names, but the Portuguese bird boy was the one that I was thinking of. Oksana Malaya was from the Ukraine. There's another similar story from the Ukraine called the story of Edic, the Ukrainian dog boy, very similar to what I said about Oksana Malaya, that he spent all this time with dogs. Edic actually spent a long time in a vacant apartment where stray dogs, and he began to emulate the way that the dogs behave. So I really think that environment is very much involved with the way that the brain functions, and this whole concept of somebody is an alpha male or a beta male or a sigma, gamma, delta, omega male. I don't quite think that it's ingrained in our body. Genetics is very important, but usually there's also this type of environmental factor that pushes somebody in a certain way. Yeah, it's like when nature combines with nurture, then you get something else. So I find that if you're going to do these genetic studies on people, you'll probably find out that they don't have genes that are very, very common. And abuse, no matter who somebody is, abuse can be the biggest factor. Like unhealed trauma, talking about emotional trauma, that is, that can greatly persuade somebody's personality, as well as their ability to dominate, and their ability to take on a higher role in a hierarchy. But the borrowed question about narcissism was, what word would you use to sum up narcissism? Like, if you had to sum up narcissism in one word, what would it be? And the person who responded to that on Quora said, abandonment. But I really didn't like that too much. I would have used the word parasite, because so many people describe a narcissistic relationship as a parasitic one. Like they don't even refer to it as a relationship. They say the narcissist and the supply. But that's another term that I'm not crazy about. But why parasite? Something parasitic? Because the narcissist views the person that they're going after like they're playing a game, or they're just using this person to fuel their own excitement. That's the problem. And psychopaths and sociopaths are all about using other people to fuel their own excitement. I'm fully aware that not all narcissists are sociopathic and psychopathic, fully aware of that. This is just a more extreme example. But that's the whole thing. Like, they aren't responding to the emotional well-being of other people. And in one point, a narcissist can actually be more miserable than someone who isn't. They might have this facade where they look like they're having a good time with everything, but the reason why they have misery is because they cannot relate to other people. There isn't that ability to empathize. And I've cited this interview a bazillion times. It's from SBSK, where it's an interview with clinical sociopath, and he said that when he was growing up, he would watch people celebrating and they're jumping up and down with excitement, and he's like, why are they jumping up and down? Jumping up and down doesn't change the reason why you're celebrating, or that doesn't affect the outcome that you've just learned about. That's why someone who is narcissistic is not going to be a very positive, upbeat individual. That's why they're not even going to have joy in their life, because they cannot relate to other people. It's like they're only experiencing half the joy of life. Someone else is sharing good news. They don't care about it. It's indifferent to them. And that brings up a whole nother set of questions. This is one that I think is related to all of these things, whether it's hierarchies or narcissists, and it's the concept of like not caring. Like we're talking about how the narcissist doesn't care about other people. When most people say, I don't care, they actually do care. Like, if you're talking on and on and on about something and someone just finally snaps and says, I don't care, I don't want to hear about it anymore. Okay, that person actually does care. They're meaning that they want you to stop talking about that subject. But with this type of narcissistic relationship, that person actually doesn't care about your well-being, or if you're gonna, we're talking about the thing jumping up and down and celebrating excitement, that person's like, I don't understand why they're doing that. That's not important to me. I don't care about it. It's just like pure indifference. It's not dislike, even, just pure indifference to someone else's well being. And it can really expand into a different form of narcissistic and just personal behaviors when someone doesn't care about someone else's well being, but then they start to enjoy inflicting emotional distress on somebody else, and they're just going to see how much distress they can put on somebody and get that person to stay with them, being as mean as they can. But if that person rejects them, then they've lost the game. So they want to be as mean as they can, but still keep the person conditioned and compelled to be with them. And then the final thing would be that if they think that this is no longer interesting, they'll just leave and move on to somebody else. So that's why I refer to narcissists as parasites. I know that's a very jumbled way of answering the question, but those are the two bonus borrowed questions for this episode. If anybody has anything they'd like to share, please put it in the comments section below. You can write the show at BlackBoxOnlineRadio@AOL.com or send in a DM on Instagram, BlackBoxNet88 on Instagram. There are links posted in the description box here. Alright, well, that's all for me now. Please visit Gumshoe Stories as well as Dirt Poor Richard, and I will see you on Instagram for the bonus podcast. Until next time.